I would like to welcome you here tonight to the 2021 Janine Rainbolt College of Education Celebration of Education in Oklahoma. As you are aware, this is not our usual in-person celebration, but while we may not be able to physically meet in the same room, we could not let a year pass without honoring the outstanding work being done by educators and education advocates in Oklahoma and across the country. Throughout this week, we have shined a spotlight on the work of our faculty with open invite presentations, culminating in tonight's celebration. We will honor faculty members in the college who have been nominated by their peers and students for their outstanding efforts as teachers, mentors, researchers, and advocates. We have 5 award winners who were selected by our Celebration of Education Committee who have distinguished themselves as an emerging educator, outstanding educator, career achievement, and meritorious service, and our overall award of distinction. This year, we have also selected 8 people to receive our new Inspiring Excellence in Education Award. Their work across the spectrum of education in Oklahoma is changing lives. Before we continue, I would like to take a minute to thank some of the people who have made the event possible. Over the last 20 years, the members of the Janine Rainbolt College of Education Board of Advocates have helped to make this event a special one for our award winners. We thank you for your service. I would also like to thank the sponsors who helped make this week of events possible and continue to support our efforts. And now, on with our show. We begin tonight's celebration with our faculty award winners. The faculty of the Janine Rainbolt College of Education is second to none and in high demand. With their dynamic research projects and passion for their classes, each year it is a challenge to single out just a few to honor. The faculty awards are special because the recipients are selected by their peers to receive the award. This year we have 2 pre-tenure faculty award winners, starting with Assistant Professor Corey Peltier. Dr. Peltier is in his 3rd year at OU and has been an outstanding addition to the Department of Educational Psychology. He has been a major contributor to the reemergence of the special education program as a premier academic unit within our college. Dr. Peltier has also demonstrated outstanding research productivity, publishing 17 journal articles with 2 more currently in press. One of the most impressive aspects of his publishing is his involvement with students, as he has 11 articles with students listed as co-authors. This shows an amazing dedication to ensuring the students in his program will have research experiences they need for the future. In addition, he has taken on an active role in the recruitment and hiring of new faculty in the department and serves on various committees in service to the college. Also earning our pre-tenure faculty award is Assistant Professor Daniel Hamlin. Dr. Hamlin joined the Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies at OU Tulsa in 2018 after a postdoctoral fellowship at the Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. In his 2+ years at OU, he has deepened his inquiry into issues of school choice, safety and parental involvement, emerging as a recognized expert in these areas. Nearly half of his 17 peer-reviewed journal publications to date have been solo-authored, and he currently has 5 more under review. Dr. Hamlin is also a committed teacher and advisor and mentor to our master's and doctoral students, currently serving as a dissertation advisor for 12 students and 8 more as a committee member. He has given back to the college by playing an instrumental role in the evolution and success of the Professional Development Leadership Academy at OU Tulsa, and has been an integral part of the work of the Oklahoma Center for Education Policy. This year's Research and Scholarship Award goes to Associate Professor Craig Hill. Dr. Hill joined our faculty in 2013 as part of our English education program and has been a leader in research focusing on how young adult literature and comics speak to adolescents about their world and helps develop strategies to teach critical engagement. He is especially interested in examining how young adult literature and comics reinforce or challenge cultural assumptions about poverty, friendship, individuality, the environment, and other issues pertinent to adolescence. Since arriving at OU, his research has been shared through 5 edited books, 14 book chapters, 6 peer-reviewed articles, and dozens of conference proposals. Another notable area of his research efforts is his co-founding of the online journal Study and Scrutiny, Research in Young Adult Literature, which provides a venue for established and new scholars of young adult literature to publish their research on a wide range of social issues. His new line of inquiry in poetry and poetry education has worked towards sharing his and others' poetry through anthologies and exhibitions. Our Teaching and Advising Award winner is Associate Professor Meritorious Velasquez. Dr. Velasquez joined our faculty in 2014 and was named a Rainbolt Family Endowed Education Presidential Professor in 2020. Dr. Velasquez consistently receives the highest scores on student evaluations in the department and college, and her advisees speak passionately about her presence in their lives. Her students have shown themselves to be active participants in college discussions and events, asking questions through concepts that reflect deeply entrenched structural inequalities in education, jobs, housing, and policing. In nomination, her students refer to her guidance, mentorship, and teaching style as having given them a personal sense of belonging in academia. Dr. Velasquez creates a space where rigorous discussion is pursued in a way that people are drawn in rather than cast out. One of her doctoral students wrote that Dr. Velasquez has challenged her to think critically about issues of equity in schools and how historically rooted structures and policies influence how diverse populations experience education. Dr. Velasquez models what engaged, transformative learning looks and feels like. Finally, the Leadership and Citizenship Award is presented to Associate Professor Ayanna Henry. Dr. Henry strives to improve the life of the ILAC department as the Elementary Education Program Coordinator and of the college as the Associate Dean for Professional Education, as well as inspire students and colleagues to be the very best versions of themselves through her hard work, dedication, and commitment to justice. As Elementary Education Program Coordinator, she has updated and streamlined processes and procedures, built connections to local school partners, worked across program areas to improve the experience of students, and built strong relationships with students and faculty alike. Since being appointed as Associate Dean, she has continued to lead through her ability to form strong relationships and respond to a variety of needs while maintaining a focus on the good of our students and our college. Dr. Henry has been actively engaged with the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education, the Office of Educational Quality and Accountability, and the Oklahoma Association for the Colleges of Teacher Education. She initiated a program in coordination with Norman Public Schools' Indian Education Program, which has brought hundreds of second-grade students to the College of Education. In addition, she helps to organize and lead the Find Your Future Summer Education Camp, which aims to bring together students of color from across the state and provide support as they envision themselves at universities and in education professions. We are proud to present our Outstanding Staff Award to Ron McCarty. Ron is the Director of Technology for the college and has been instrumental in keeping our faculty, staff, and students connected during this last year. Ron has always gone out of his way to support their needs. As the college made the shift to online instruction last spring, he was instrumental in making sure everyone had the tools and resources necessary to support instruction and learning. Those who nominated Ron for this award spoke over and over about his kindness, patience, and willingness to help no matter the time of day or task at hand. As one person said, he is a great asset to the University of Oklahoma, and we are very fortunate to have him and all of the IT personnel in the education department. Congratulations, Ron. At this time, we would like to recognize 8 people that are inspiring excellence in education. These educators and champions of education were nominated by their peers, students, and former professors as examples of the outstanding work being done in the state of Oklahoma to move the topic of education into the forefront of public discourse. These honorees range from classroom teachers to higher education educators to advocates. We thank them for their tireless work. following award winners were selected to be part of the 2020 Celebration of Education, which unfortunately had to be canceled due to the pandemic. While we were hoping to be able to honor them in person in 2021, nonetheless, they continue to perform in ways that deserve to be celebrated. Our Emerging Educator Award winner is Lena Tenney. Lena currently serves as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the College of Pharmacy at The Ohio State University. Prior to that, they were coordinator of the public engagement at the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at Ohio State. They earned their Master of Education in Adult and Higher Education from the Janine Rainbolt College of Education in 2016 and have been working at the forefront of social justice issues. At OSU, Lena has served on the Provost Task Force on LGBTQ+ faculty and staff issues, LGBTQ Student Task Force, OSU Title IX Task Force, and Trans Ohio. While at the Kirwan Institute, Lena helped create the nation's first free, publicly available online training on implicit bias in K-12 education and conducted more than 150 trainings on implicit bias and how to speak out against racism to more than 11,000 participants in 16 states.
Greetings to everyone in the Janine Rainbolt College of Education at the University of Oklahoma, my dear alma mater. My name is Lena Tenney. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. And in my current professional capacity, I am the first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the College of Pharmacy at The Ohio State University. Go Bucks. And it really is a delight and an honor to have been recognized as an emerging educator for the celebration of education in Oklahoma. The university and the state of Oklahoma are near and dear to my heart in so many ways. Even though I have moved to a different geographic area, I forever retain and use on a daily basis the lessons that I learned through the college. And that includes the theory that I was taught in classrooms, the wonderful grounding that I received, also the invitation to apply it to praxis, and really try to make the world a better place through education and in education. So thank you to everyone who contributed to, really world-shattering and incredibly transformative learning moments to me personally while I was in the College of Education and on OU's campus more generally. Certainly my master's program in adult and higher education helped to prepare me for my career, but I would be remiss if I did not recognize how much members of the college and the folks who supported me in that educational pursuit have really contributed even to my own ability to live my life authentically as who I am, to transform from a really shy, closeted kid who showed up on campus for the first time, having never set foot on campus, but to move in and to stay there for the next 7 years and get really a phenomenal education. In so many ways. So I want to say a couple of thank yous. This list obviously cannot possibly be exhaustive, but a few folks who I want to mention by name who really helped make this educational journey transformative for me. Those include Lupe Davidson, Kirsten Edwards-Williams, Elon Dancy, Lavanya Bennett, Rodney Bates, Aaron Simpson, Cami Day, Moira Ozias, Elisa Fryer, Brianna Ferris, Valerie Thompson, Ebony Pope, and everyone that I was fortunate to work with in my graduate assistantships in OU residence life. Truly a wonderful experience, albeit complicated. I think that's part of what I take away from my time at OU, is that you can learn things in the classroom, but what really makes change in the world is stepping up and making a difference and applying those things to achieve, my real passion in education is around social justice, particularly racial justice, as well as LGBTQ affirmation and inclusion. And in that vein, I want to thank the folks who really truly showed me, perhaps for the first time, the true meaning of things like solidarity and co-conspiracy. And that would be the students of OU Unheard. Thank you for all of your transformative work at the university, for dealing with racism and white supremacy within institutional structures and interpersonal interactions, while also working to get your degree. It shouldn't be the job of students to have to transform the university that they're in, and yet many of these students, including in OU Unheard, have done that work over the years. So thank you to anyone who has done that kind of work and made things better. That also includes comrades in Indigenize OU, the Brown Collective, Disability Inclusion and Awareness, and Queer Inclusion on Campus. I must say that getting my start as an organizer and doing grassroots work really has shaped how I approach my educational practice as well. Finally, thank you to all of my family, both my blood family and my chosen family, who are so incredibly supportive of me. I cannot thank you enough. And I will end by sharing with you this quote from an educator that I really, really admire, Dr. Bettina Love, who works on abolitionist teaching. And as an abolitionist, this is something that I am learning more and more about on my journey every day. And this quote continues to resonate and rattle around my brain on a daily basis. So Dr. Love once said that, quote, "The struggle for educational freedom does not somehow vanish when you apply theory, but your barriers are no longer hiding in plain sight. Now you have the language, understanding, and hopefully the co-conspirators, not only to fight, but also to demand what is needed to thrive." That is my current motivation in my journey as an educator. I hope that it brings something new or something affirming to your journey as well, whatever your interaction with education in and outside of Oklahoma might be. So thank you again for being able to be part of the celebration of education in Oklahoma. I will always be proud of not only having attended the university and graduated the university, but all of the lessons that I have learned in many different forms during my time at the University of Oklahoma, and specifically within the Janine Rainbolt College of Education.
Our Career Achievement Award winner is Dr. Rick Cobb. Dr. Cobb is the superintendent of Mid-Dell Public Schools and earned his doctorate in Educational Administration, Curriculum and Supervision from the college in 2013 and is a member of our EPD Advisory Council. He was named the winner of the 2019 State Superintendent's Fine Arts Medal in Excellence in Administration, as well as the District 7 Superintendent of the Year from the Oklahoma Association of School Administrators. Dr. Cobb was also awarded the 2019 Oklahoma Foundation for Excellence Medal of Excellence winner for elementary and secondary administration.
Hi, I just want to say thanks for allowing me to participate in the Celebration of Education Awards, and of course for the award that I'm receiving for my career in education, which I hope is still only partially completed. I know that I would not be where I am in my career as an educator without the experiences that I've had at the University of Oklahoma and beyond, including all of the mentors that I had in my life. I got my degree from OU in 1992, started teaching in 1993, and came back when I was in my 30s to work on my doctorate. And I've just had a lot of experiences that really stem from my time at OU. It's helped me have a network of professionals all over the state that have helped me in my career as well. Since we're doing this ceremony virtually, I was asked to mention some of the people who are really important in me getting to where I am today. My first principal, Lou Gregorio in Muskogee, was a fantastic mentor who was always looking for ways to teach me more. Later, I worked for Robert Everett in Mustang. He was my principal while I was teaching high school English there, and was probably the most influential leader that I've had in my entire career. You know, I got to work for Robert Romines and more after that. And I've just had so many experiences along the way with great people who've lifted me up, who've taught me things that I wouldn't have had a chance to see otherwise, and who've pushed me. Another leader that I think is important to mention is John Riley. When I taught in Mustang and I was on several district-wide committees, he pulled me aside one time and said, "You know, Rick, you should look at being a curriculum director someday. I know you want to be a principal, but you really have an eye for curriculum." And so I spent some time as a principal. I worked for the state regents for a little while, and when I got to Moore and got to actually do that job as a curriculum director, I felt like there was a direct line between that conversation that I'd had in Mustang years earlier and getting to that point. And it's a reminder to us as leaders that when we have an opportunity to pull people up, or another way to say it is when you when you see somebody who has a lot of potential, we have an obligation to pour into their cup and make sure that they know I'm here to help you achieve goals. I'm here to help you identify what those goals are if need be, but so that we can build those people into the leaders that this profession will always need. I hope that as an educator, that's the kind of leader that I've been over the last several years since I've had an opportunity to be in leadership roles. I hope as an educator, I am always a good representative of the University of Oklahoma and the 2 degrees that I've earned as a Sooner. And I hope that as the years go on, I get to continue to have opportunities to intersect with the way OU develops educators and leaders, but also with helping build the future of our profession so that it's stronger than it was even when I started teaching. So again, thank you so much for this award and for allowing me to have a chance to participate in the ceremony, and keep doing the good work. Live on, University.
The Outstanding Educator Award winner is Rebecca Oglesby. Rebecca is an elementary art teacher at Ranchwood Elementary in Yukon and was the 2019 Oklahoma Teacher of the Year. She is a graduate of the Janine Rainbolt College of Education, earning a bachelor's degree in elementary education. Prior to Yukon, Rebecca taught in Moore Public Schools, where she was a teacher at Plaza Towers Elementary. When an EF5 tornado hit in May 2013, claiming the lives of 7 students, she used her body to shield her first graders as the twister destroyed the school. Known in her school and community as the Batman teacher, for the abundance of comic book memorabilia in her classroom, Oglesby incorporated core subject areas into her art lessons, provides the opportunity for students to express their uniqueness, and provides life lessons.
Hi, my name is Becky Oglesby, and as you might can tell, I love Batman. I've collected Batman memorabilia since I was about 8 years old. What started as a special connection between me and my dad is now a way that I connect with kids in my first grade classroom. And I think that Batman really does symbolize the heart of a teacher, because Batman doesn't have any superpowers. He's just an ordinary man who took it upon himself to make a difference in the world around them. And if that doesn't accurately define a teacher, I don't really know what does. Teachers are just like the bat symbol in the sky. That's not to summon Batman. That's to give the people of Gotham hope. Hope that there's somebody on their side and somebody fighting for them. And that's exactly what teachers do. They give hope. And we're celebrating here at the University of Oklahoma, which I went to. I graduated in 2010 from the University of Oklahoma. And the university is actually a very, dare I say, sacred place. Because at the University of Oklahoma, you are prepared for your purpose. That's what the university does, is it prepares people for their purpose. Whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a social worker, that sacred place prepares you for your purpose. But if you take a step back, it's more than just that place. It's the educators. Because see, to get to the University of Oklahoma, you have to have high school teachers that have prepared you along the way. You have to have professors at the university that are preparing you for your calling. So really, if you think about it, the backbone of the American dream is the education system. Our education system is the backbone of the American dream. It takes a teacher. And I'd like to challenge you today with 3 things. The first one is thank a teacher. Oh my goodness, I could go back all the way back to 3rd grade and tell you about Randy Rader, my 3rd grade teacher, who inspired me. And I learned that when you care about a person, then they're going to care about learning. And he inspired me. I knew he cared about me as a person. And so I took an interest in learning even more than I had before. Or go up to high school, and my high school AP teachers that pushed me and challenged me to achieve more than I thought that I could. Or even into the university, Neil Hauser and Tom Boyd. Neil Hauser challenged me in our social stories course. He was the first person that introduced to me the idea that you take curriculum and you pair it with a life lesson, and that is impactful education. That you can't just have curriculum without teaching the person, that you want them to become lifelong learners, that you want them to become productive members of society, to give back into the world. So number 1, thank a teacher. I have so many teachers that I could stand here for 3 hours and thank all of the teachers. My second challenge to you is to get a teacher. If you're really achieving your dreams and your purpose, you should never stop learning, and you should always have mentors and teachers to guide you and support you along the way. My teacher right now is my principal, Kristen Leip. She's fabulous, and she pushes me and she challenges me, and sometimes it's uncomfortable whenever she wants me to do things that I'm a little nervous about, but she helps me to grow, and I've grown so much under her mentorship and her leadership. So not only should you thank a teacher, not only should you get a teacher, you should be a teacher. Not just in the setting, of course, I think everyone should enter the education world. It's the most fulfilling profession on the planet. And I think everyone should want to be a teacher. But even if you're a husband or a dad or a mom watching this because of somebody else, you should still be a teacher. Whether you're teaching the next door neighbor how to ride their bicycle or you're being a mentor to somebody at your job, you should never stop being a teacher. You should always have an attitude of gratitude and thank those who've prepared the way for you. You need to have a teacher. You need to get a teacher to help you continue to learn and grow. And last, you should be a teacher. Thank you so much for this honor and this privilege. I hope that I can continue to lift up the profession and encourage you to come into education, but more importantly, that we continue as a group to help people find their purpose. Thank you.
The Meritorious Service Award is presented to Dr. Frank Wong. Dr. Wong is president of the Oklahoma School of Science and Math and formerly chairman of Saxon Publishers, Inc. He stepped down from his chairman role in 2003 to pursue his lifelong dream of teaching, spending 2 years in the classroom at OSSM teaching abstract algebra, geometry, and special topics in higher math. He also spent time traveling the country as he worked with economically disadvantaged students in large school districts before returning to OSSM to serve as president. A native of New York, Dr. Wong came to Oklahoma as a teenager, where meeting his high school math teacher would forge a path to lead him where he is today. He earned a bachelor's degree in math from Princeton and a PhD in pure mathematics from MIT. As a graduate student at MIT, Dr. Wong co-authored a widely used high school calculus textbook that was published when he was only 23. Through his public speaking engagements, Dr. Wong estimates that he has spoken to approximately 30,000 teachers, thousands of students in schools all over the country, including the New York City Public Schools, Los Angeles Unified School District, Chicago Public Schools, Washington, D.C. Public Schools, and Baltimore Public Schools. Even with a demanding schedule, Dr. Wong teaches at least one class each year at OSSM, as it is the teaching that rejuvenates and energizes him.
Hello, my name is Frank Wong, and I am honored to have been selected as a recipient of the Meritorious Service Award from the Gene Rainbolt College of Education as part of their Celebration of Education Awards for 2021. Let me share with you a little amusing story. In my first career, I was running a textbook publishing company based in Norman, Oklahoma. I was able to help grow that company from a very small company that was based from a home to a major national company with 250 employees and sales approaching 100 million. At the height of my career, I appeared in the Wall Street Journal in a little dot picture on the front page. That was one of my fantasy bucket list items, and I decided at that point to go to our board of directors and announce that I would like to step down from my position and pursue my lifelong passion to be a classroom teacher. And that's what I did. After a successor was named for me at the company, I went to the Oklahoma School of Science and Math and taught for 3 years for no pay. I also taught at the University of Oklahoma at the invitation of then President Bourne. I had to take a small stipend from OU so that I could get a faculty parking pass, but I took my earnings and donated to OU libraries to help sponsor the Books That Inspire exhibit. When Dr. Manning, my predecessor, the founding president of the Oklahoma School of Science and Math, retired, she approached me and asked if I would be interested in applying for her position. I was selected to succeed her, and at my inauguration, I invited the teachers in my life to come and be part of the ceremony. I invited Mr. Frank Berlin from upstate New York, where I went to high school in upstate New York before moving to Oklahoma, to come and fly down from New York and be part of the ceremony. I invited Dr. David Drennan, my math teacher from Norman High School. I invited Dr. Stu Ryan, also known as Dr. Indestructo, now a retired professor of physics from the University of Oklahoma, and I invited Joe Taylor, Professor Joe Taylor from Princeton University, where I went to college. He was my freshman physics professor in 1983, and then in 1993 won the Nobel Prize. I brought them together to honor them as I became the president of the Oklahoma School of Science and Math. And I gave a speech to the students there saying that someday when they achieve success in their various fields of endeavor, that I asked them and I implored them to remember all those who so fervently and so earnestly invested in their education and look for ways of giving back. I'm a big subscriber to the Bible verse, Luke chapter 12, verse 48, that says, "To whom much is given, much is required." I've been very blessed in my life and looking for ways that I can give back and help and positively impact another generation of students. I thank you again for this award, and I certainly hope that I can live up and be worthy of it. So I'm going to continue my commitment to educating the young people here in Oklahoma. And again, thank you, Oklahoma. Thank you, the University of Oklahoma. And thank you to all my teachers who helped get me to where I am today. If you have a moment, I encourage you to watch a little video, a local TV segment about how I went back to honor my second grade teacher, my teacher from 1971 to 1972, who worked with me, poured a lot of love into me, and helped me to develop the confidence to be the type of person I am here today. And so sadly, she's passed away. She left no children, but I still felt a heavy burden in my heart to honor her. So I hope you take a moment to watch that. And just again, thank you all. And I wish you all a safe and healthful new year. Thank you.
Do you remember the teacher that you had back in second grade? Even remember his or her name, perhaps? Well, an Oklahoma mathematics professor who had learning problems in grade school came back to North Colony today to pay tribute to the second grade teacher he says saved him. John McLaughlin has the story. Can't wait to hear it.
It's a nice story, too, Jim. Dr. Frank Wong says his problems were so serious back in second grade that other teachers and professionals said he was unteachable and should be placed in a special ed school. But one teacher, Isabel Robinson, said absolutely not.
I come here to repay a debt that I owe that I don't think I could ever fully repay.
Dr. Wong came to the former Goodrich School with a $30,000 donation to honor the late Isabel Robinson, his second grade teacher at the school.
I was already pegged as a student that did not have any sort of academic potential or intellectual capacity, and she just poured a lot of love into me.
Mrs. Robinson and his parents defied other teachers and experts who said he was unteachable and should be transferred to a special ed school.
And even after I left second grade, she continued to pick me up after school, bring me home, serve me milk and cookies, work with me.
The Goodrich principal at the time says those special efforts by Mrs. Robinson probably would be misinterpreted today.
These days, I suppose somebody would suspect her, you know, I mean, it's ridiculous, but nonetheless, she was a special individual.
So they held a little ceremony here honoring Wong and Mrs. Robinson, who died back in 1995. The two kept touch over the years as Frank went to Princeton, MIT, got married, had a family, and became CEO of an academic textbook company. Back now with a check to remember Mrs. Robinson.
It's a pittance in comparison, really the priceless support and love that she gave to me.
Well, North Colony Superintendent Joseph Corr says a portion of that donated money will be used to train 3 math teachers who will then help out other math teachers in the grade schools. As for Dr. Wong, he is a visiting professor right now at the University of Oklahoma, and in July he becomes president of a public residential high school for extremely gifted math and science students in Oklahoma City, said to be one of the finest in the nation by Newsweek.
So much for unteachable.
I told you it was a nice story.
All it takes is one teacher. It's a great story, John.
Before we continue to our final award of the evening, I want to take a minute to acknowledge the difficulty educators have faced, especially over the past year, and recognize each one of you for the dedication you have shown to your students and your craft. It is more important than ever that we take the time to honor your role in the transformative power of education. On a personal note, tremendous gratitude is owed to our faculty and instructors for quickly engaging in teaching in new ways to successfully complete the interrupted spring 2020 semester, for thinking creatively and collectively for the fall 2020 and spring 2021 semester classes that would be taught at a distance or in person, or in some cases both at once, and for finding meaningful ways for our students to engage in their field experiences and internships that helped keep them and our school partners safe. It is our goal to ensure that every child has the best experiences they can in the classroom they enter, and that will only happen if everyone has access to quality education, including well-prepared teachers in all classrooms. Here at the Janine Rainbolt College of Education, we are honored to play a part in preparing and mentoring teachers, school counselors, and school leaders that can be both mirrors for their students and windows for their students' futures. Given our important role in society and the work our students will do in schools and learning organizations, I believe we have both an opportunity and a responsibility to prepare educators who are culturally competent and ready to address and challenge systems of oppression. As we move forward as a college, we must engage in the difficult and necessary work together and ask ourselves, how can we better use our classrooms as spaces that engage, value, and honor all students? Are there ways we can foster understanding and empathy for one another and healing within our classrooms and communities? And during turbulent times like these, how can we continue to be a positive and transformative force in the lives of students, families, and communities? It is my sincere hope that our college become a place where everyone knows they are valued and seen, and where empathy and understanding are our guiding motivations for just and equitable practices. And now, I'm honored to introduce our Award of Distinction winner, Dr. George Henderson. There's really not enough time to list everything Dr. Henderson has accomplished or what he has meant to education, this university, and this state, so I will keep my introduction brief so you can enjoy his words. In 1967, Dr. George Henderson became the University of Oklahoma's third full-time African-American faculty member at the Norman campus. In 1969, he became the Sylvan N. Goldman Professor of Human Relations, Education, and Sociology. Later, he was appointed to 3 other distinguished professorships: David Ross Boyd Professor, Regents Professor, and Kerr McGee Presidential Professor. After he became the Goldman Professor, he founded the Human Relations Department, which he chaired for 20 years. From 1996 to 2000, he was Dean of the College of Liberal Studies. Thus, he was the first African American in Oklahoma to hold a distinguished professorship and was the first African American at the University of Oklahoma to create a degree-granting department, and the first African American dean of a degree-granting college on the Norman campus. Although he retired from the university in 2006, he still teaches on a part-time basis. A civil rights pioneer in higher education in Oklahoma and a race relations and civil rights scholar, Dr. Henderson has taught university courses and spoken at conferences and workshops throughout the United States and internationally. In addition, he has written 34 books and 50 articles, presenting papers at over 100 professional conferences, been a consultant to dozens of state and national organizations, and has been a keynote speaker at over 200 student meetings. In 2003, he received the College of Education's Career Achievement Award. In 2019, he received the College of Arts and Sciences Distinguished Service Award. In 2011, Dr. Henderson and his wife Barbara were recipients of the Xenia Institute's Sam Matthews Social Justice Award. They were the first African American property owners in Norman. They are the parents of 7 children and the grandparents of 8 grandchildren. Dr. Henderson's master's degree in sociology and PhD in educational sociology are from Wayne State University in Detroit. We are honored to welcome Dr. George Henderson as our keynote speaker and Award of Distinction honoree.
I'm extremely pleased to be recognized for my achievements by the College of Education. I never thought when I came to the university in 1967 as a professor in the College of Education and the Department of Sociology that I would be recognized for anything other than teaching. Well, here I am. But in truth, I shouldn't be here. There's no way that I should be here, except a mother who dreamed that I would be, and teachers, 4 elementary school teachers who also believed that George Henderson should be here. Let me tell you briefly about my journey. Born to a 17-year-old sharecropper female and a 20-year-old sharecropper male, that's how I began my life. We lived in what was the equivalent of a shack. I know what dirt poor means. We were dirt poor. No running water, no electricity, 1 bedroom, and an outhouse for a toilet. Rarely enough to eat. Poor. My father was run out of Alabama, which subsequently meant that so was I and my mother. And we moved from the poverty of the South to poverty of the North. The first 2 places where I lived were converted garages. The first had a wooden floor, the second had a dirt floor. Again, like my Alabama home, guess what? No running water, no electricity, but no outhouse this time. In one of them, it was a hole in the floor in the garage. I shouldn't be here. When my parents moved out of the second garage into an apartment complex, I grew up for the first, from kindergarten through 9th grade, the beginning of 9th grade. I lived in that apartment building. I lived with rats, roaches, and bed bugs. I never had my own bedroom. A pull-out bed in the living room was my bedroom. Bed bugs, oh God, I was a major donor to bed bugs. We rarely had enough to eat. We were on and off welfare for until the beginning of 9th grade. I won't bore you with the details of what it was like to be poor. You'll read about those or have read about those in your college courses. But living how you lived as opposed to reading about how people thought you lived is a totally different story. I shouldn't be here. My mother said when I was born, she looked at me and said, "This is a baby that's going to take our family out of poverty." I think all poor mothers say that. Mine certainly did, taking us out of poverty. I started elementary school in the equivalent of special education. The room was in the basement of the Garfield Elementary School. I didn't like school. I didn't like being poor, and I didn't like being black. So until 4th grade, I kind of did schoolwork, but I want to tell you about a teacher because this award that you're giving me is really a tribute to her. I remember so vividly, she called me, she says, "George, sometimes you do well in what we're studying, and other times you just don't try." I can still remember saying to her, "Why should I try? I'm poor, I'm black, and I live in a segregated community." I'll never forget that woman. She just smiled, and she held my hand, and she says, "George, I know you're poor, and I can't do anything about that. I know you're black, and I can't do anything about that either. And I know you live in a segregated community, and I can't do anything about that either. But if you got a good education, you might, just might, young man, be able to do something about all of those things." Oh, gosh. Now I need to tell you up front, all of my teachers from kindergarten through 4 years of college were white. So don't tell me that only black people can teach black children. I don't want to hear that. The good, the bad, and the ugly were teachers. And I'm telling you about one of the good ones. She convinced me she volunteered to teach all of us in that class. Only 5 of us, of our parents at least, gave her permission to tutor us. And tutor us she did. In one academic year, I was up to speed in my courses. And she took me to the principal and says, "I want George Henderson retested." The principal said, and she's holding my hand, "We don't retest those kids." She said, "If you don't retest George Henderson, I'm not coming back to this school." I thought she was crazy. She's putting her job on the line for me? I found out years later she was one of the best elementary school teachers in East Chicago, Indiana. And she came to our school, our little predominantly black and brown school and poor white school. And I asked her years later, why did you do that? She says, I could have gone to the other schools, but I'm a minor, M-I-N-E-R. There are hidden gems in schools like these. And George, you're one of those hidden gems, and I want to dust you off. I'm going to pull you out, and I want to polish you. And I want you to learn all of the things that you can and should and must learn. Miss Gosh relented, and now I know why. That teacher could have gone anywhere. George Henderson is one of the first kids to test out of special ed in East Chicago. I should be here. I should be here because of that teacher. So the award that you're giving me is really a tribute to her and the subsequent teachers who indeed she passed me along to. To put it in perspective, for the would-be teachers and for the actual teachers and for the wannabe teachers, you're the difference. You're the difference between surviving or thriving or not amounting to much of anything and being yet another statistic that's not a good one. Teachers have that power. And the teachers of teachers, oh gosh, this award is for those teachers, not George Henderson. Lord knows I've received enough awards and honors, but the greatest award that I have ever received, an honor, was for a teacher to say, you, George Henderson, are worth something. And that minor dug me out of a poverty-stricken school, polished me. The end of the story is, I think, like a movie for me. When I graduated from high school, my mother couldn't attend and my father couldn't attend. Both of them were working. But somehow, my elementary school teacher found out, okay, graduation, the rows were going as they should, except the H's. We were put in the last row. I said to myself, something's wrong, this is messed up. We should not be in the last row. She managed to have me seated in the seat in front of her in the last row. And when I stood up, before I stood up to get my diploma, she kneeled over and she whispered in my ear, this little light of mine, now it's time for you to shine. Go show them what we can do, George. Go show them that you're not a statistic, that education matters and you're going to prove it. Go shine. This award is for teachers like her, those who could have gone elsewhere and didn't, those who didn't go elsewhere and didn't do their jobs. But I need to tell you this about her. She would not let me use race as an excuse. She would not let me use poverty as an excuse. She would not let me use segregation as an excuse. She says, none of those things will get you where you think you want to be. So she polished me, and I graduated in the National Honor Society in high school. And I remember the first day that my mother realized that this teacher had chosen me and the few others. My mother said, thank you, Lord. My dream's going to come true. Her dream did come true. That teacher and the others were dream makers. I accept this award. I accept it proudly. I accept it humbly. But it's a thank you. It's a thank you for people. Why would this white lady care about me? Because that's who she was. And she passed on to me the belief that it's not color, it's not the income, it's not where you start living, it's who you are, and caring and respecting and requiring that your students do their best. And I tried to mimic that behavior. They were my role models. But you know, I never told a single one of them, thank you. I don't believe they did it for thank you. I think they did it for the same reason that I teach now. Because teaching is about the only significant gift that my Creator gave me. I love teaching. And I love the students that I teach, especially those whose odds are stacked against them. Yeah, I see little George or little Georgina in every single one of them. And I'm trying to love and care for all of the students that I'm privileged to teach the same way that that first teacher loved and cared for and polished me. Oh my God, this award. To the individuals who are going to be teachers and those who are teachers and those who are teaching teachers, I thank you. Polish those gems and let them shine as caring, humane, dedicated people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. And thank you to everyone who joined us this week to celebrate education. We look forward to continuing to honor those making a difference. Good night.